Welcome, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled you're here for this explainer. Today, we're taking a fascinating psychological deep dive into the mechanics of conversational influence. We're going to look at the exact strategies people use to manipulate others using literally nothing but their talking skills. Seriously, this is one of those topics that's going to instantly change how you view the world around you, because we're basically pulling back the curtain on human behavior.
So, let's start with a massive paradox to get things going. Why do intelligent people still get manipulated? We often think that falling for manipulation means a lack of intelligence, right? But time and time again, incredibly smart, highly educated, completely rational people fall victim to highly skilled communicators. How on earth can someone completely change your mind without you even realizing it? Let's make this super personal for a second. Have you ever agreed to something, maybe a favor, a big purchase, or a commitment, walked away from the conversation, and then stopped and thought, wait a minute, why did I just say yes to that? Look, if you have, you're entirely normal. That exact feeling is the hallmark of psychological influence, and today we're going to decode exactly why that happens.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We'll be covering the invisible influence, why we're vulnerable, common manipulation tactics, the mechanics of control, spotting the warning signs, and finally, how to protect yourself.
Starting things off with part 1, the invisible influence, and setting the ground rules.
It's absolutely vital to understand that manipulation happens everywhere. We're talking workplaces, relationships, and heavily in advertising. But we really need to define what it actually is before we can spot it, right? So, persuasion, that's ethical influence. It presents an argument and respects your autonomy, allowing you to choose. Manipulation, on the other hand, well, that's pure psychological control. It relies on hidden agendas, exploiting your vulnerabilities, and basically maneuvering you into a corner where you feel like you literally have no choice but to comply.
Moving into part 2, why we are vulnerable, the human element.
To really understand manipulators, we've got to understand our own psychological triggers first. We all have this baseline desire for approval. It's exactly why we take on extra work just to look like a team player. We also have a trust bias, which, you guessed it, scammers absolutely love to exploit with a friendly smile and a warm hello. And then there's authority bias. Influencer marketing. Plus, we totally fall for social proof. Happily standing in a 45-minute line for a wildly average restaurant just because everyone else is doing it. And finally, the fear of rejection, which might cause you to just sit completely silent when you disagree in a meeting. The point is, humans make emotional decisions based on these very normal built-in triggers. And guess what? Manipulators know this all too well.
All right, part 3, common manipulation tactics. Let's open up the playbook.
We're going to start with a term you've probably heard a lot lately, gaslighting. This is the act of making people actually doubt their own memory or their perception of reality. Just imagine being in a relationship or at work, and someone looks you in the eye and says, "I never said that. You're imagining things," or "You're taking it the wrong way." Over time, this creates intense, overwhelming self-doubt, literally making the target reliant on the manipulator to tell them what is actually real.
Next up is love bombing. This involves using excessive praise and attention to gain influence and trust. And look, it feels great at first, right? Who doesn't love being praised? But love bombing overrides our critical thinking by weaponizing flattery and that natural desire for approval we talked about earlier. They build you up incredibly fast just so they have massive leverage over you later on.
Then we have false urgency. This is creating a scenario where people feel like they have to decide immediately. You see this everywhere in sales conversations and ad campaigns. Act now, this offer ends in 5 minutes. You know the drill. It's specifically designed to stop you from using your rational brain, basically tricking you into thinking that if you don't buy that exact blender right this very second, your life is completely over.
But the playbook certainly doesn't end there. Skilled manipulators will weaponize your feelings through guilt-tripping, fear manipulation, and emotional blackmail. They'll use their perceived authority and heavy flattery to force your hand. Or they might just simply lie by omission through selective information. And honestly, whether it's in political messaging across the spectrum, your social media feeds, or just everyday friendships, these are the tools of the trade.
Which brings us to part 4, the mechanics of control, beyond the words. Now, what's really interesting here is
that a manipulator's delivery actually matters just as much, if not way more, than their actual script. Tone of voice and intense eye contact can project this overwhelming sense of authority. A completely unearned sense of confidence can make a total lie sound exactly like an established fact. And then there's silence. Manipulators will deliberately use strategic pauses to create deep, awkward discomfort, essentially forcing you to fill the void, and usually you fill it by agreeing to whatever they want. They'll even use carefully timed facial expressions to feign sincerity. It really is a full-body performance.
All right, part 5, spotting the warning signs, your internal alarm.
The good news here is actually incredibly empowering. Our bodies and minds often detect manipulation way before our conscious, logical brain realizes what's happening. If you feel any of these red flags during a conversation, you're likely experiencing psychological pressure. Ask yourself, are you feeling pressured or totally rushed into a decision? Do you feel guilty, but you can't logically explain why? Do you have constant self-doubt after talking to a specific person, or an overriding fear of disappointing them? Listen, if your gut is sending you these signals, your internal alarm is going off. Listen to it for sure.
So, the crucial point is how we stop this. Let's get into part 6, how to protect yourself, the defense protocol.
Here is exactly how you take the power back. Number 1, pause. Hit the brakes and instantly remove that false urgency. Number 2, ask questions to challenge their premise. Make them actually explain their logic to you. 3, verify their information. Definitely don't just take their word for it. 4, set firm boundaries on what you will and absolutely will not accept. And 5, control your emotions. Relying on your critical thinking and taking a simple, deep pause instantly removes the manipulator's power over you.
If you take away absolutely nothing else from this explainer today, remember this: trust evidence over pressure. Lean on critical thinking and human decision-making science. Your core defense mechanism is literally just stepping back from the intense emotion of the conversation to look purely at the cold, hard facts. Once you take the emotion out of the equation, the illusion completely shatters.
I absolutely love this quote, and I think it perfectly summarizes our entire journey today. The strongest defense against manipulation is awareness. Once you recognize the game, it becomes much harder for anyone to control your decisions. Education really is your ultimate shield.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. The next time you find yourself in a conversation and you feel that sudden, heavy pressure to just nod along and say yes, I want you to pause for a second and ask yourself, who is really making the decision here? Stay vigilant, stay empowered, and always trust that internal alarm. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.